Thank you, everyone. And what I am here to, before we officially open, I am here to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for our 15th annual Youth Night Awards and Recognition Ceremony. Before I turn it over to our very capable student MCs, I just want to thank Laura Martin and Barbara Rumkunis, our very capable co-executive directors. And I would like to thank the town of Exeter and Natasha Stoppel for helping us get this presentation up and running online. And I'd like to thank you for joining us. So as we often say, students are the future and they're the ones who are going to carry us forward, but members are our present. And we depend upon our members to keep this a vital and exciting organization. One reason why we're able to put on an event of this nature is that we have a very engaged and active interest in history in the Exeter area. So we don't refer to people as members and non-members, we refer to them as members and not yet members. And so to help us continue to provide this level of support and outreach to the schools, to societies and organizations around the town and in the greater New Hampshire area, we invite you to join our members. They really are a vital part of our organization, and you can do that through our website, exeterhistory.org. You can also feel free, if you don't want to join yet another organization, a one-time donation is also very welcome. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our student trustees, of whom there are 3 this evening. Thank you very much.
To open our program, please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Exeter Historical Society's 15th Annual Youth Night.
I'm E.J. Murphy.
And I'm Siecke. And we're your Masters of Ceremonies for this evening, along with Lydia, our Senior Student Trustee. We'd like to thank Service Credit Union, the generous sponsor of our program and contest. They have been an outstanding partner, supporting Youth Night and the Nancy Carnegie Merrill Essay Contest for many years, including both the 2020 and 2021 Essay Awards. This evening truly would not have happened without their contributions.
All right. Our opening remarks will be given by Lydia Gruke, and Lydia is our student trustee from the senior class, and more importantly, 3-peat winner of the Nancy Carnegie Merrill Essay Contest, which is an unparalleled accomplishment. Ms. Gruke will attend Dickinson College in the fall to study history. She is going to offer her thoughts on how her interest in history has enriched her life.
To me, history is learning about the past to understand how we got to the present. I've been interested in history ever since I found a book on Greek mythology in my 3rd grade classroom and was fascinated by the stories of how people used to live, which led to an interest in historical books, fiction and nonfiction alike. And historical fiction is still one of my favorite things to read. When I was in middle school, my mother learned about the Exeter Historical Society Essay Contest from reading an article in the Exeter newsletter about how our neighbor won a prize in the Nancy Carnegie Merrill Essay Contest, and she encouraged me to enter when I was old enough. I'm glad I did, because it gave me the opportunity to learn more about the history of the town I grew up in and helped me feel more connected to it. The history contest allowed me to improve my writing and research skills and history knowledge. While I was working on my essays for the Nancy Carnegie Merrill Essay Contest, I learned how to use primary sources and how many of these resources were available at the Exeter Historical Society. I entered the contest 3 times, learning about the history of Exeter's usage of the telephone, immigrant life, and working youth. I was able to become more involved in the town's history, helping out at the Independence Festival and writing the names of past African-American Exeter residents in chalk on the Historical Society's driveway this past summer. Ever since I realized how much I liked history, I want to learn more about it, and I'm really looking forward to studying history in college.
Thank you, Lydia.
And now I'm going to introduce Travis Kerber. Travis Kerber recently attained the impressive rank of Eagle Scout with Troop 323. For Travis's Eagle Scout project, he created a walking tour of Exeter that can be downloaded through the app Izzy Travel. You can find a link to that on our website, which is located in the drop-down menu under History. Mr. Kerber is going to share his experience with a local history as he created the online walking tour of Exeter.
Sorry about that. Hello, as you heard, my name is Travis Kerber, and I'm a Boy Scout from Troop 323 in Exeter. That's close to getting my Eagle Scout award. I've worked with the Exeter Historical Society to add a walking tour with audio narration and GPS coordinates for the app IZI.travel. The tour includes 40 points of historical interest around Exeter and can be done in any order. Simply download the app to your smartphone and look up the Exeter, New Hampshire walking tour. So if everyone pulls out their phone right now, go to the App Store and look up IZI.travel. Then in that app, just look up Exeter, New Hampshire walking tour. It's that easy, free, and you can go experience my tour. I've been in Scouts for 9 years and I'm a member of Troop 323, like I said. I've had a lot of good leaders to look up to. I would especially like to thank Mr. Louie, who's my Scoutmaster, and Mr. Roundy, who's my Eagle Scout coach, for all their guidance and wisdom through my scouting journey. There's a lot of life skills that I've learned from every activity that I've done with Scouts, from camping to first aid. I take a lot from scouting. I'm really happy that I've stuck with it for this long. 323 is a great troop. When deciding what I wanted to do for my Eagle project, I wanted to find something different than building something. I didn't want to build just another kiosk. This is developing a whole tour, which is something that I liked a lot better. And I'm really excited to actually see it launch. So my mom and I were doing some of the other walking tours in the area, like the Exeter Lit Fest tour. And I thought that the IZI travel app, which allows people to upload tours, was a good platform. I approached the Exeter Historical Society, where Barbara Kunis, curator and co-executive director, was thrilled with my idea. So ever since, I've been developing the tour and having several work days where we work on it further. And yeah, the tour's official launch on the IZI.travel app, and I'm really happy about it.
Thank you, Travis, and congratulations.
Our Youth Night celebration always includes having students share their extraordinary achievements in the study of history, whether that's high school students presenting an extended learning opportunity, middle school students showing off their National History Day projects, and of course, our essay contest winners. While our world has looked very different for the past 13 plus months, one thing hasn't changed. Exeter students are still learning history and creating knowledge that deserves recognition. For this year's Youth Night, we asked teachers at the Cooperative Middle School and Exeter High School to name students whose hard work and dedication to history and social studies education are worthy of special notice. Please join us as we offer congratulations to the following students.
Our first student of the night is Matthew Sturdivant for his contribution to class environment and his outstanding background knowledge in the subject matters. And our next one is Leonardo White for developing his personal interest in the subject matter and going beyond the classroom curriculum. And next up is Stephanie Franceschi for actively engaging in class discussions, making connections to her learning in the classroom, and encouraging discourse among her peers. And next is Maya Cole for showing thoughtfulness and caring in her approach to her work in the classroom and through her artistic expression. And our next nominee is Marley Beltry. I apologize if I mispronounce any last names here, for her excellent academic performance coupled with leadership in both remote and in-class settings. And next up is William McElroy for his excellent academic performance coupled with leadership in both remote and in-class settings. And next is Alexandra Meatley for her maturity, hard work, and self-motivation, which have given her a keen awareness of the content area and a higher order thinking skill. And next is Ellie Carlson for her passion and interest in U.S. history, along with her active participation in class, both in person and remotely. And next is Logan Campbell for his outstanding efforts, high level of personal interest, and talent in the subject area that all make him a gifted social studies student.
Also, Christopher Perrin for maintaining a passion for social studies, content, and learning, and being eager to learn in the remote classroom environment. Owen Cosgrove for excellent participation on written work and participation in class, both in person and remotely. Evan Couture for his participation, enthusiasm, and thoughtful contributions which have enriched the online learning environment. Genevieve Bork for being a socially conscious student who is dedicated to making the world a better place with a deep knowledge of history and current events. Theodore Citarella, sorry if I mispronounced that, he has a deep knowledge of history and looks to make a positive change in the world. Abigail Herrick for high academic achievement in 6th grade geography. Darren Grant for high academic achievement in 6th grade geography. Sophia Whaler for being a hardworking and talented student who helps others and challenges herself each day. And Tay Diaz for his ability to draw connections between deeper understanding of both history and world events.
And finally, we have some more students, including Cedric St. Armand, which that's a really cool name, for consistently outstanding engagement and high achievement in history class, and Miriam Dumet, who is generally interested in the subject matter and frequently demonstrates learning far beyond the expectations of the course. We have Olivia Parker, Ella Zagamani, and Rachel Poulin for their performances in an inquiry project for world history, examining the relationship between fashion and social class in Renaissance Europe. We also have Sienna Daly, who who is a conscientious student who asks great questions in order to develop deeper understanding. And we have John Crowley, who has an outstanding interest in history and ability to make connections between his knowledge and current events. We also have Madeline Katie, who is an enthusiastic student who excels at making connections between current events and her social studies content. We also have John Warbow, who has excellent participation in class debates and discussions. We have Nathan Citarella, who is very engaged with social studies topics and makes excellent connections between his knowledge of current politics and classroom content. And last but certainly not least, we have our very own EJ Murphy for being inquisitive, focused, and actively engaged in local history, while encouraging his peers to get involved as well. And I have to say, EJ, working with you has been such a treat. You really have a passion for history.
Congratulations to all of our award winners. You'll be getting a certificate of recognition through the schools very shortly.
Nancy Carnegie Merrill trained as a nurse and came to Exeter in 1949 to be the school nurse for SIU 16. After her husband David's death in 1952, she changed careers, earning a master's degree in library sciences and becoming the reference librarian at the Exeter Public Library. Mrs. Merrill's interest in local history, backed by her skill and patience as a researcher, benefited readers of her many newspaper articles and her important 1988 town history, Exeter, New Hampshire, 1988 to 1888, often used as a source by our own student essay writers.
During her career as a local historian, Mrs. Merrill was the beloved director of collections at the Exeter Historical Society for 25 years. It is in her honor that we have created the Nancy Carnegie Merrill History Award. This year, we will be hearing from the 2020 and 2021 winners.
Our winner for the 2021 Nancy Carnegie Merrill Award is 8th grader Riley Postage from the Cooperative Middle School. Riley wrote in response to the challenge of deciding how best to preserve and keep the town's collective experience from the pandemic. Her essay answers the question, what artifacts, aside from masks and hand sanitizers, do you think best tell the story of the past year for people your age? If you were our curator, which 2 or 3 items would you include in our Pandemic Life in Exeter collection? Riley, you may read your essay.
2020. It was a year to say the least. From pandemics to protests and presidential elections, we definitely made history. There's no question about it. But how to remember all that history? With technology, that's so overused. And who knows, maybe technology just crashes. Imagine using actual real-life things that you can hold in your hand. Imagine holding an iPhone, cooking and baking supplies. And chalk in your hands. Crazy. iPhones. Let's talk about them. Why did I choose it? I chose iPhones because they helped a lot of people, especially teens, get through the true quarantine without going insane. I personally think that if teens didn't have some way to connect with each other during quarantine, I think our mental health would be much worse than it already is. I know from iPhones help us connect with our friends through FaceTime, text, Snapchat, Instagram, or TikTok. I personally think that if teens didn't have some way to connect with each other during quarantine, I think our mental health would be so much worse than it already is. I know from personal experience that trying to keep friendships alive during quarantine was very hard, and some of them you just couldn't keep going, but the ones you did are the true and important ones. The second item I chose is baking supplies. I chose this because basically everyone tried at least once during quarantine to become better at baking. One of the hottest things to try was making bread. Another reason I chose baking supplies is that, especially for me, there was always a point where there was always some kind of sweet treat that I baked, whether it was cake or cookies, there was always something sweet. Chalk, why did she choose chalk? Seems kind of childish, right? Well, maybe it is, but for me in my neighborhood, it was a way to spread positivity and show each other that we were there for each other. I also chose chalk because I had 2 friends in my neighborhood that we were all allowed to hang out with each other. One of the many things we did to entertain ourselves was to use chalk outside. One last reason I chose chalk is that there's a lady who lives in our neighborhood and asked all of the people in my neighborhood that if we wanted to, we could draw some kind of image at the end of our driveway so that when people went by on their walks, they could see what everyone's artwork. I had many options, but iPhones, baking supplies, and chalk were the ones I chose because they stood out to me the most and they are the most special. True quarantine was a very special time and a very hard one for many, many people, but it also is the kind of thing that we should remember, good or bad, and reflect on it.
The winner of the 2020 Nancy Carnegie Merrill Award is our very own E.J. Murphy. Please note that he wrote and submitted this essay for the 2020 competition, held the year before he was nominated to be a student trustee. His winning entry took a look back at a century ago. 1920 found America poised on the brink of a new modern era. So how were the 1920s experienced in Exeter? What did everyday people use that was experienced that was new and different? Or how were their lives a continuation of what had come before? Help us see how people in Exeter lived during this tumultuous decade.
So Exeter in the Roaring 20s. So the Roaring 20s were a wonderful time for America in general, and specifically Exeter, but it was a little bit too much too quick and kind of led to some downfalls. So the 1920s marked a significant turning point for Exeter as the United States entered an immense economic boom following World War I. And this allowed residents to acquire new consumer products, completely revolutionizing life as they knew it. This was a thrilling time for Exeter citizens as a multitude of products were invented that could completely change their lives, including vacuum cleaners and radios. However, these products came with hefty price tags, leading thousands of buyers to purchase on credit. And this is where problems arose, eventually leading to the national economic crisis of the 1930s. During the 1920s, as citizens in Exeter were able to get a taste of this modern age through changes in transportation, communication, and revolutionary home appliances, life had never seemed so comfortable. Transportation changed drastically, playing a key role in the Roaring 20s. With the invention of Ford's Model T in 1908, cars became a reality for thousands of Americans. This replaced the horse and buggy, which had been a staple of transportation since the birth of the nation. However, this meant that new car owners had to deal with gas, as well as with car maintenance. In Exeter, this could be seen with the development of the Motor Mart on Court Street, an auto garage that offered service, sold automobiles, as well as allowed car owners to fill their gas tanks. This was momentous for Exeter, as it was one of the first modern gas stations and expanded the transportation opportunities in the growing town. When this development is viewed in hindsight, it exemplifies the fact that Exeter was forever changed by the introduction of consumerism. With new products came a new face for the old Exeter. In addition to the development of this modern gas station, Exeter actually sold its own automobiles. In a 1927 edition of the Exeter newsletter, Weatherall's Garage detailed some of the exciting automobiles that were available for purchase. Here it described all the convenient features offered in these cars, ranging from air filters to ignition locks, leading a low-cost Chevrolet sedan to cost $695. Imagine that in these days. This was actually fairly unaffordable for many in Exeter, however, as the average hourly wage for the manufacturing sector in 1927 was about 55 cents an hour, or $8.50 an hour today. This means that many buyers led themselves into huge debt and began to live financially insecure lives. In addition, communication revolutionized significantly during this time, which could especially be seen in Exeter when radio popularity boomed in 1924. The advent of the radio was critical for those in Exeter, as it allowed for a sense of connection to the rest of the nation and the world. This became quite important during the Great Depression of the 1930s and World War II, when the sense of belonging and unity became even more cherished. To look at this advancement in hindsight, it did not just improve Exeter residents' lives, it also stimulated national and local economic growth. For example, the advent of the radio allowed for an increase in employment opportunities nationally, as well as in Exeter. This could be seen with the Frank B. Nagg Company, which sold Atwater Kent radios right in Exeter. During the Roaring '20s, people in Exeter met all these advancements with awe, buying nearly everything they could to improve their lives, often purchasing on credit. Another example of a communication advancement that struck huge popularity in Exeter was the typewriter. And this could be seen in an advancement by Batchelder's Bookstore, which sold Royal typewriters. The typewriter presented the new and different for Exeter. And playing along with the national trend, jobs became available in the production of typewriters and in secretarial work, where the latter especially presented new opportunities for women. Additionally, the 1920s brought many new household appliances to Exeter, such as the vacuum cleaner, which represented a major change in American consumer culture. Homes became increasingly mechanized, making life much easier and making the vacuum cleaner even more appealing. This was evident in a 1927 edition of the Exeter newsletter, where the Exeter and Hampton Electric Company advertised Eureka vacuum cleaners. It mentions, quote unquote, if you decide that your time and effort and health and strength are worth that slight monthly investment, encouraging buyers that it would revolutionize their lives. Another household appliance that presented new opportunities for those in Exeter was the refrigerator. Similar to that advertisement for Eureka vacuum cleaners, a Frigidaire advertisement put out by W.A. Young in the April 1st, 1927 edition of the Exeter newsletter states that, quote unquote, a first small payment puts Frigidaire in your home, encouraging consumers to put little
EJ, I believe you cut out.
were completely thrilling to Exeter's citizens in the 1920s. And to conclude, in the 1920s, Exeter's residents were enticed by advertises, oftentimes overextending themselves financially for life's new conveniences. Advertisements oftentimes did not have prices listed and called for making a small down payment, leading buyers to accumulate massive amounts of debt. This directly led to the stock market crash in 1929, opening the nation for economic hysteria. And unemployment rates hit record-breaking lows, and millions lost their homes. In the big picture, the roaring 20s revolutionized Exeter so completely through changes in transportation, communication, and household appliances, allowing residents to experience the new and different. However, it is crucial to note that these new experiences also brought the nation's upheaval to Exeter, the infamous Great Depression.
This contest would not be possible without the help and support of teachers at our participating schools. Even in the midst of constant change and uncertainty, they have continued to work hard to provide excellent history instruction to all SAU 16 students. We especially thank Mrs. Caputa for coordinating the student recognition effort at the high school. We'd also like to thank the administrators for the SAU and individual schools for their enthusiastic support for all students in the district.
We are nearly at the end of tonight's programming. But before we go, we want to acknowledge that we traditionally close our event with a group sing-along of O Exeter, our officially unofficial town song. However, Zoom meetings do not lend themselves very well to this kind of music making. So instead, I'll close with a reading of the Robinson Female Seminary School Song, composed by Jessica Carlisi Burpee, class of 1905. There's a name we'll always honor, as on through life we go. Whether joy may be our portion, or filled our cups with woe, we will still be true and loyal, our song of praise never done, for the gold and white, her banner bright on ever Robin sun. Over our country's broad dominion, spread wide from shore to shore, shall rise a song of union in thy praise forevermore. We will guard as gold her honor, keep white her name well won, and ever sing, all voices ring, on ever Robin sun. Here a beacon light to guide us through many stormy ways, her hope, our hope, to lead us as we thread life's varied maze. Duty still her watchword over us, as sure our race we run, and ever sing this charge we bring on ever Robin sun.
And that concludes the Youth Night celebration for 2020 and 2021. We look forward to seeing you preferably in person in 2022. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to all who participated and stayed to watch, and congratulations to all students. We will be getting your certificates to your schools to be distributed by your teachers. Thank you very much again, and we'll see you soon.